She was just a kid in seat 12F, the kind who pressed her forehead against the plane window, tracing clouds with her finger as if they were alive. No one paid much attention to her, just another quiet passenger on a routine flight from Dallas to Washington. Her hoodie sleeves covered her hands. Her backpack was old and her sneakers looked worn from running through too many airport gates. The flight attendant smiled kindly. She barely smiled back. Halfway through the flight, turbulence began to shake the aircraft. The seatbelt signs lit up, and people started whispering nervous prayers. But the girl in 12F didn't flinch. Her eyes stayed focused on the wing outside, calm in a way that didn't match her age. When the pilot's voice came over the intercom, "We're experiencing some difficulties, please remain seated," she did something no one expected. She reached into her bag, pulled out a small black headset, and plugged it into her tablet. A few seconds later, her tablet flickered to life with a live radar feed, something only pilots usually have access to. She typed quickly, her fingers moving with precision, and whispered, "Call sign Echo Foxtrot 12F online. Situation confirmed." No one around her understood what she was doing, but in the skies above them, two F-22 Raptors flying a training route suddenly received an encrypted signal they'd never seen before. A young lieutenant looked at his screen and said, "Sir, we're getting a distress ping. Call sign EF-12F?" His commander froze. That's not possible." Back on the commercial plane, the girl removed her headset and leaned back. Her pulse was steady. The flight attendant still thought she was just a nervous kid. But within minutes, the radio channels between civilian and military air control lit up. Someone had triggered a code that hadn't been used in years, a code belonging to a long-classified emergency protocol. The girl closed her eyes, whispering something only she could hear. "Dad, I got it under control." Passengers thought she was praying. But she wasn't. She was communicating with the very pilots who were now redirecting their jets toward the plane she was sitting in. The sky outside had turned an eerie gray, thick clouds swallowing the evening sun. Inside the cabin, people were growing restless. The captain's voice cracked slightly over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're making an unscheduled diversion due to technical irregularities." He didn't mention the sudden loss of one engine or the pressure drop warning that flashed red on his control panel. Panic spreads fast in the air, and he couldn't risk it. But in seat 12F, the girl already knew more than the crew did. Her tablet was linked to a secure military network, something she shouldn't have been able to access. Her breathing stayed calm, but her hands trembled slightly as she decoded the incoming signal. "EF-12F, confirm your identity." It came directly from the F-22 squadron, now flying in formation behind the commercial jet. She hesitated for a moment, then whispered into her mic, "This is Cadet Mira Collins, daughter of Lead Commander Aaron Collins, Air Combat Wing 7. There was silence on the other end. Then the pilot's voice, slightly shaken, came back. "Ma'am, we have confirmation. Your father's code was decommissioned in 2019. How the hell do you have it?" Mira's eyes glistened, but her voice didn't waver. "Because he sent it to me before his last flight." The pilot didn't ask anything else. He didn't need to. Everyone in the Air Force knew Aaron Collins, the man who saved hundreds during a mid-air collision years ago, only to vanish when his own jet went down in the Atlantic. His call sign had been retired, and now somehow it was alive again through his daughter. Inside the passenger cabin, the tension was thick. A mother held her baby tight, an elderly man clutched a rosary. No one noticed the girl in 12F quietly syncing data with the F-22's onboard systems. "Engine 2 temp exceeding safe range," she murmured. "Possible fuel leak near port wing." Her technical readouts were detailed, too detailed for a civilian. Then she looked up and met the gaze of a flight attendant staring at her screen. "What are you doing?" the woman whispered, terrified. Mira's lips parted slightly, "Trying to keep us in the air." And at that very moment, the F-22 pilots saw something on their radar that made them sit upright. A second unidentified aircraft, closing in fast from the north. The unidentified aircraft appeared on the radar like a ghost. No transponder signal, no flight plan, nothing. Just a fast-moving blip slicing through the clouds. The F-22 pilots locked on immediately, their voices tense over the comms. "Unregistered craft approaching Flight 247 at high speed, vector 091. Orders?" Back inside the passenger plane, Mira's screen flashed with the same alert before the pilots could even report it. She zoomed in, her eyes narrowing. It wasn't a military jet, it was a private Learjet running dark. But its altitude was dangerously close. "They're trying to intercept," she whispered. The lead F-22 pilot called in again. "EF-12F, confirm visual." Mira leaned closer to the window, pressing her forehead against the glass. Through the storm clouds, she saw a faint silhouette, sleek, silver, and flying too close for comfort. She whispered, "Confirmed visual." Distance about 5 miles. "They're not responding to ATC." Her words sent a ripple through the encrypted channel. The pilots broke formation, splitting high and low, moving to flank the unknown aircraft. The passengers had no idea. To them, it was just turbulence. But in the cockpit, the captain was losing calm. "We're getting proximity alerts," he muttered. "This can't be right." Mira unbuckled her seatbelt and stood up. A flight attendant rushed toward her. "Ma'am, please sit." But Mira interrupted sharply. "I need access to the cockpit now." There was authority in her tone, the kind that made people obey without understanding why. The attendant hesitated, then led her forward. When Mira stepped into the cockpit, both pilots turned, shocked to see a teenage girl. She showed them her tablet, its screen flashing with encrypted data. "You've got a shadow on your tail," she said. "If you don't drop altitude by 2,000 feet in the next 30 seconds, we'll collide with its flight path." The captain blinked.
"How do you just do it?"
she shouted. He didn't know why he listened, but he did. The plane dropped sharply and passengers screamed. Drinks flew, oxygen masks swayed, and then silence. The radar warning blinked off. The F-22s intercepted the Learjet seconds later. "Target disengaged," came the report. Returning to formation, Mira exhaled slowly, gripping the back of the pilot's seat. Her hands were shaking now. She was just a kid, the co-pilot whispered. But the way she looked out that cockpit window, steady, fearless, she wasn't just a kid anymore. The storm began to clear as the plane leveled out. Sunlight spilled through the cracks in the clouds, painting the cabin in gold. People were still crying, clutching their armrests, unaware how close they'd come to disaster. Mira stayed in the cockpit, staring at the fading radar blip of the Learjet that had almost ended them all. The captain finally turned to her, his voice trembling. "Who are you?" She didn't answer right away. Her eyes were on the clouds, calm again, just like her father had taught her to be. "I'm no one," she said softly. "Just someone who listened when everyone else stopped." But the military channel was still open, and the F-22 commander's voice came through, low and steady. "Cadet Collins, you just saved 212 lives. That call sign you used, it hasn't been activated since your father's last flight. The code was supposed to be buried with him." Her throat tightened. "It was. I only kept it because it was all I had left." There was a pause on the line and then a quieter voice, one she hadn't expected. "Echo Foxtrot 12F, proud of you, kiddo." Her breath hitched. It wasn't possible. It sounded exactly like him. For a moment she froze. Then the signal cut to static. Tears welled in her eyes. Maybe it was interference. Maybe it was imagination. But in that instant, she felt the same warmth she'd felt sitting beside her dad in the hangar years ago, watching jets take off under a summer sky. By the time the plane landed safely, news had already reached the ground. Military officials met them on the runway, faces tight, eyes full of questions. Passengers filed out, whispering about the miracle flight. Reporters were already circling. But Mira just kept walking, her backpack slung over one shoulder. As she passed the line of soldiers, the F-22 pilots stood at attention. One of them saluted sharply, not to the captain, not to the uniformed officers, but to her. "Respect, EF-12F," he said quietly. She paused, looking at them with tired eyes. "My dad would have done the same," she whispered. Then she disappeared into the crowd. Just a kid again. Seat 12F printed on her boarding pass. Her father's call sign still echoing softly in the wind. Some said it was coincidence. Others called it a miracle. But for those who were there, it was the day the sky remembered her name.